Okay, so my name is Grace. I'm going to be doing a neurological assessment today. So I'll start with the level of consciousness for the patient. It's obviously conscious. Can you tell me your name?
Aaron.
Your date of birth?
November 1st, 1999.
And where are you?
In my house.
Okay, so alert and oriented times 3. You would look at the client for their appearance, if they're dressed appropriately for the weather, if they look or act confused, if they're giving regular behavior patterns. Can you tell me what you ate for lunch?
Turkey sandwich.
Okay, so his memory is intact. Yeah, so his mental status is good. So moving on to the cranial nerves, start with cranial nerve 1, which is olfactory. So I'd have the person close one nostril and smell something like coffee or something that's strong and you can specifically tell the scent. Cranial nerves 2 and 3, which are optic and ocular motor, have to do with pupillary reaction. So I would take a pen light and shine it in their eye and watch the pupils. Cranial nerve 3, which is ocular motor. Cranial nerve 4, which is trochlear, and cranial nerve 6, which is abducens, have to do with eye movement. So follow my finger. Okay, and going back to cranial nerve 5, which is trigeminal, you would have the person tell you if it's sharp or dull.
Dull.
Sharp or dull.
Sharp.
And move your jaw around. So that's testing sensory and motor. Cranial nerve 6, which is abducens, we already did. Cranial nerve 7, which is facial. Can you smile? Frown? And puff out your cheeks? Good. Cranial nerve 8, which is auditory or vestibular cochlear. You can do 2 tests using a tuning fork, which I don't have, and you would put it to the forehead and behind the ear on the mastoid process. But you can also cover one ear and say a 2-syllable word and have the person repeat it, and the same thing with the other side. Cranial nerve. Cranial nerves 9 and 10, glossopharyngeal and vagus, have to do with swallowing. So you would ask the patient to swallow, and then you check the hard and soft palate. Cranial nerve 11, spinal accessory. So you'd have the person shrug their shoulders and push their head against my hand, and this way. Okay, and cranial nerve 12, which is hypoglossal. Can you stick your tongue out? So there's movement of the tongue and it's midline. Put it back in. The next thing you would do is check for cerebellar function. So you would watch the client as they walk in for their balance and gait, but you can also do different tests. So can you stand up? And you'd have the person put their feet together and their arms at their side and close their eyes. And you look for balance or if there's any swaying. Okay? Another test you can do is have the person take the heel of one foot and rub it against the shin of the other leg. So you can go ahead and do that. Yep. And sit back down. Another test you can do is have the client touch their nose and then touch my finger. Keep going. Good. Next, you check the client for sensory functions. So there's 2 tests you can do. The first test, you have the client close their eyes and you'd write a number in the palm of their hand and have them repeat.
8.
Okay.
8.
Okay. And another test you can do is keep your eyes closed and hand them something that's familiar and ask what it is.
A PlayStation controller.
Yes. Okay. And then next you test the deep tendon reflexes. So the first one, you're going to have the client relax and you'll put your thumb on the brachioradialis and you would take a tendon thing and you'd strike and watch for a reflex, and then you do the same thing for the biceps and you'd put it in the antecubital and strike and watch for a reflex, and then for the triceps you would hold the patient's arm like this and relax and you'd strike right behind the elbow and watch for a reflex. And then the patella, you'd find the patella and the depression right below the patella, you'd strike and watch for a reflex. And same thing with the Achilles, you would strike on the Achilles tendon and watch for a reflex. To test plantar reflection, can you lay down? You would take the patient's foot and you would go from the heel to the ball of the foot and watch for toe flexion. And then there's 2 tests you can do to check for a meningeal irritation. You take the patient's leg and bend at the knee and hip and tell me if you feel any pain when I straighten your leg. No? And then can you look down towards your toes? And you would watch the hips and the knees.